The 2025 Ballon d'Or is broken, and everyone knows it. 5 players, 5 completely different cases, 5 legitimate claims to football's most prestigious prize. But here's the problem. The criteria keeps changing depending on who's making the argument. A teenager who's rewriting the record books at 18, a redemption story 6 years in the making, a goal machine whose numbers defy belief, the conductor of Europe's most dominant team. Each one has bulletproof evidence. Each one has a fatal weakness. The voting starts in weeks, and nobody, not the players, not the pundits, not even the voters themselves, can agree on what actually matters anymore. Here's exactly why this Ballon d'Or will be the most controversial decision in football history. So who actually has a shot at winning the 2025 Ballon d'Or? Right now, 5 names have separated themselves from the pack, but here's the thing. They're all so different that comparing them feels like judging apples, oranges, and hand grenades in the same competition. Mohamed Salah, Vitinha, Raphinha, Lamine Yamal, and Ousmane Dembele. Each one represents a completely different argument for what makes a player worthy of football's ultimate prize. Let's start with Mohamed Salah because his case is both the strongest and the most frustrating on paper.
He's got Gakpo to his left, he might need him. Jota tried to leave it for Salah! And he's done it again!
This season, Salah didn't just have a great year, he had a year that statisticians will study for decades. First player ever to win the Premier League Golden Boot, Playmaker Award, and Player of the Season in the same campaign. That's not just dominance, that's historical monopolization of individual awards. The numbers are genuinely ridiculous: 34 goals and 23 assists across 52 games. He averaged a goal or assist every 91 minutes. For context, that's better than Messi's 2019 Ballon d'Or winning season. Salah was so consistent that Liverpool fans started taking his brilliance for granted, which might be the ultimate compliment. But then March arrived, and with it came the harsh reality of modern football. Liverpool crashed out of the Champions League round of 16 to PSG, and suddenly all those Premier League masterclasses felt hollow. The Ballon d'Or has an unforgiving European bias, and Salah's case died in Paris alongside Liverpool's Champions League dreams. Moving to Vitinha, who represents the opposite end of the spectrum entirely. The Portuguese midfielder won everything possible this season: Champions League, Ligue 1, Coupe de France, Nations League. His trophy cabinet looks like a collector's dream, but his individual numbers look modest: 8 goals and 5 assists across 59 games. Here's what makes Vitinha's case fascinating. He was the most important player on the most successful team in Europe. Luis Enrique's PSG was a tactical masterpiece, and Vitinha was the engine that made everything work. His passing range, positional discipline, and game management were so superior that opponents couldn't find solutions all season. The challenge? Midfielders need transcendent individual campaigns to win Ballon d'Ors. Vitinha was excellent, but was he Modric 2018 or Kaká 2007 levels of transcendent? That's the question that could determine everything. Then there's Rafinha, whose season defies every expectation anyone had. The former Leeds winger transformed into Barcelona's most reliable weapon, posting 38 goals and 25 assists while leading them to a domestic treble. Those aren't just good numbers, those are numbers that match Cristiano Ronaldo's peak Champions League campaigns. What separated Rafinha from typical wingers was his consistency in crucial moments: El Clasico goals, Copa del Rey final heroics, Champions League knockout magic. When Barcelona needed their best player to step up, Rafinha delivered repeatedly. The problem came in the Champions League semi-finals against Inter Milan. Barcelona's European dreams ended, and with them, a significant chunk of Rafinha's Ballon d'Or credibility. Individual brilliance means less when the biggest team objective falls short. Lamine Yamal presents the most unique case in Ballon d'Or history. At 18 years old, the Barcelona winger posted 21 goals and 26 assists. Let that sink in. A teenager matched the productivity of established superstars while playing for one of Europe's biggest clubs. His performances in El Clasicos and Champions League semi-final showed maturity that shouldn't exist at his age. The historical significance is staggering. If Yamal wins, he'll become the youngest Ballon d'Or winner by over 3 years. shattering records that seem permanent. But that's exactly the problem. Football's establishment isn't ready for a teenager to claim the sport's ultimate prize, regardless of merit. Finally, Ousmane Dembele, whose season reads like the perfect redemption story. After years of injury problems and inconsistent performances, the French winger finally delivered on his massive potential. 37 goals and 16 assists for PSG's treble-winning team, with clutch performances at Anfield, the Emirates, and in the Champions League final itself. Dembele didn't just put up numbers, he showed up when PSG's season hung in the balance.
Double ball for Barca, and Dembele continues his run. And Ibrahim Konate gets there initially, but Dembele scores!
2 assists in the Champions League final, decisive goals in knockout rounds, the kind of big moment performances that define Ballon d'Or campaigns. His case is simple. When the biggest matches arrived, he was PSG's best player. When they needed magic, he provided it. When they needed reliability, he delivered it. 5 players, 5 completely different arguments, and absolutely no consensus on what should matter most. The only certainty is that 4 of them will be devastated come ceremony night. Here's where things get messy. What should be a celebration of football excellence has devolved into the most toxic debate in recent memory, with legends, pundits, and fans all fighting over what actually qualifies you for football's top prize. The arguments aren't just passionate, they're personal, and they're exposing uncomfortable truths about how football judges greatness. Cristiano Ronaldo fired the first shot, and it was nuclear. The Portuguese legend went public with his belief that only Champions League winners deserve Ballon d'Or consideration. His exact words, "Those who stand out and win the Champions League should win." That statement didn't just endorse PSG's Dembele and Vitinha, it obliterated half the field. According to Ronaldo's logic, Salah's record-breaking Premier League season becomes worthless because Liverpool couldn't beat PSG over 2 legs. Yamal's teenage brilliance, irrelevant without European glory. The response from other camps has been vicious. Former Premier League stars are calling it European elitism, arguing that domestic league dominance requires more consistency than knockout tournaments. They point to Salah's 38-game Premier League masterclass versus Dembele's handful of Champions League knockout performances. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Ronaldo's view isn't controversial in football's inner circles. It's standard. Most voters have always prioritized European success. They just weren't saying it out loud. Now that it's explicit, everyone else is furious about rules they never realized existed. Numbers should be objective, but they've become the most subjective part of this entire debate. Liverpool supporters are citing Salah's 57 total goal contributions as definitive proof of superiority. Their argument is mathematically simple. No other player in Europe came close to his productivity, therefore he's the obvious winner. The PSG camp responds with context that's equally compelling. Dembele's 53 contributions came against elite opposition in crucial matches. They dismiss Salah's Premier League numbers as stat padding against relegation teams, while highlighting Dembele's Champions League final assists. Barcelona fans have entered with their own nuclear option, efficiency metrics. Yamal averaged a goal or assist every 87 minutes despite being 17 years old. They argue that per-minute production adjusted for age makes him historically unprecedented. The problem, every statistic can be twisted to support any argument. Goals per game favor some players, total contributions favor others, efficiency metrics favor a third group. When the same numbers tell different stories, depending on how you frame them, mathematics becomes propaganda. But nothing has caused more chaos than the Yamal age controversy. Football's old guard is horrified at the prospect of a 17-year-old winning the sport's ultimate individual prize. Respected journalists, former players, and longtime voters are all asking the same question. Has football lost its sense of perspective? Their argument isn't about Yamal's ability. Everyone agrees he's exceptional. It's about what the Ballon d'Or represents. In their view, it crowns the pinnacle of a career, not the beginning of one. Giving it to a teenager, regardless of talent, fundamentally changes what the award means. The counter-revolution from younger fans is equally passionate. They've watched Yamal dominate grown men in El Clasicos and Champions League semifinals. Their response is simple. If you're good enough to be the best, age shouldn't matter. Here's what's really driving people insane. If Yamal wins, he doesn't just break the youngest winner record, he demolishes it. Ronaldo was 23 when he first won. Yamal would be 18. That's not evolution, that's revolution, and revolutions make people very uncomfortable. Lost in all this noise is perhaps the most important question. Should team success trump individual brilliance? Vitinha won everything possible but doesn't have eye-catching numbers. His Champions League triumph, Nations League victory, and domestic treble create an argument based purely on collective achievement. He was the best player on the best team, which used to be enough, but modern football has shifted toward individual metrics and highlight real moments. Vitinha's subtle excellence, the way he controlled tempo, dictated positioning, and made PSG tick doesn't translate to social media clips or viral statistics. This creates an uncomfortable precedent. If Vitinha loses despite winning everything, it signals that individual numbers matter more than team success. If he wins despite modest statistics, it suggests trophies are all that count. Either outcome fundamentally changes how we judge football excellence. The battle lines are drawn, the arguments are loaded with emotion, and absolutely no one is backing down. What started as player comparison has become philosophical warfare about football's soul, and we haven't even gotten to the evidence yet. Now comes the moment of truth. Strip away the politics, ignore the noise, and focus on what actually happened on football pitches this season, because when you examine the cold, hard evidence, some of these cases fall apart completely. The biggest matches reveal the biggest truths, and this is where our contenders separate into different categories entirely. Dembele thrived when the pressure peaked. His performance at Anfield wasn't just good, it was the kind of display that silences 50,000 hostile fans. The goal that opened the floodgates, the movement that created space where none existed, the composure that never wavered despite Liverpool's relentless pressing. Then came the Emirates, where he dismantled Arsenal's defense with surgical precision. But the Champions League final sealed everything. 2 assists in football's biggest match, creating PSG's winning moments when the entire world was watching. That's not just productivity, that's delivering under the ultimate microscope. Compare that to Salah's Champions League exit, where he managed just 1 goal across 2 legs against PSG, the same PSG that Dembele was tearing apart from the inside. When Liverpool needed their Egyptian king most, he went missing precisely when greatness was required. Yamal showed flashes of brilliance in Barcelona's Champions League campaign, but the semi-final second leg against Inter exposed his youth. The decision-making that looked mature in La Liga suddenly seemed rushed under European pressure. World-class players impose themselves in moments like these. Yamal couldn't quite manage it yet. Raw numbers lie constantly, but dig deeper, and patterns emerge that change everything. Rafinha's 63 goal contributions look spectacular until you realize that 18 came against teams that finished in the bottom 6 of La Liga. Strip those away, and his numbers against quality opposition drop significantly. Elite players feast on weak teams, but great seasons are defined by consistency against strength. Salah's Premier League dominance tells a similar story. His 34 goals included 7 against teams that got relegated and another 8 against sides that finished in the bottom half. When facing top 6 opposition, his goal rate dropped by 40%. Context matters more than totals. Dembele's 37 goals came with a different distribution entirely. Only 4 were scored against teams that finished in League One's bottom half. The rest came against Champions League level opposition, both domestically and in Europe. Quality over quantity has never been more obvious. Vitinha's assist numbers are modest, but advanced metrics reveal something fascinating. He created more high-quality chances than any midfielder in Europe. His expected assists total was nearly double his actual assists, suggesting his teammates wasted golden opportunities he created. Here's evidence that changes entire narratives: availability and durability across the season's crucial periods. Salah played 52 games and never missed a crucial match through injury. That consistency allowed Liverpool's system to function at peak efficiency throughout their Premier League triumph. Reliability at the highest level is its own form of excellence. Dembele missed just 3 games all season after years of injury problems. His body held up under Luis Enrique's intensive system, suggesting he's finally conquered the fitness issues that derailed previous campaigns. For a player whose career was defined by fragility, proving durability becomes a massive achievement. Yamal played 47 games at age 17, which sounds impressive until you consider the physical toll. Barcelona managed his minutes carefully in the season's final months, protecting him from burnout. That protection suggests even his own club wasn't entirely confident in his ability to handle a full elite season yet. Vitinha appeared in 59 matches, more than anyone else in our group. Playing that much while maintaining sustaining quality across multiple competitions demonstrates the kind of elite conditioning that often goes unnoticed but makes everything else possible. Individual awards measure individual performance, but football remains a team sport. Who actually elevated their teammates when it mattered? Dembele's transformation wasn't just personal, he made everyone around him better. Vitinha's passing improved because Dembele's movement created better options. The fullbacks attacked with more confidence because Dembele's pace provided defensive cover on transitions. Leadership through example, not speeches. Yamal's impact on Barcelona was undeniable, but it came with a caveat. The entire team was built to maximize his talents. When he struggled, Barcelona struggled. When he shined, they dominated. That dependence raises questions about whether he was elevating others or simply being elevated by them. Salah operated within Liverpool's established system rather than transforming it. His individual brilliance was spectacular, but it didn't fundamentally change how his teammates played. Excellence within structure versus excellence that creates new structures. The evidence is overwhelming, and it's pointing toward conclusions that will make a lot of people very unhappy, because sometimes the truth isn't what we want to hear, it's what the performances actually showed. After cutting through all the noise, examining the evidence, and stripping away the politics, one conclusion emerges that will make half the football world furious. Ousmane Dembele deserves the 2025 Ballon d'Or, not because of redemption narratives or feel-good stories, but because when the biggest moments arrived on the biggest stages, he was the most decisive player in world football. Champions League final assists when PSG needed magic, crucial goals at Anfield and the Emirates when the pressure was suffocating, consistent excellence against elite opposition when lesser players crumbled. The internet will explode when his name gets called. Yamal fans will scream robbery. Salah supporters will claim anti-Premier League bias. Barcelona will boycott the ceremony, but 6 months from now, when emotions cool and perspective returns, we'll all admit the same thing: the right player won. This has been the most controversial Ballon d'Or breakdown in football history. Who do you think actually deserves it? Drop your prediction in the comments below, hit that like button if this analysis changed your mind, and subscribe for more football content that cuts through the hype to find the truth. Because in a world full of hot takes, somebody has to deliver the cold, hard facts.